everybody. It is once again time for Once Upon a Tune, the podcast about tunes where we celebrate music
and the characters who make it. What's up, everybody? I'm Broke Boland.
And I'm Dev Jana. Today we're going to get into the big idea, which will be stories from the road. And we're going to dive into a classic clip of Matt's music history that no one has seen yet. It's as of yet unpublished. But first, we're going to dive into this is our second time doing this sketch. It's called Substitute Screecher, where each of us gives the other a band for which they need to choose a singer. Matt, would you like to present first, or would you like me to put you on the spot?
Hit me with something first. Seems like you got something in the pipe.
I do. And I'm really interested in what your answer will be to who else would you like to see sing for Bad Religion?
Nobody.
Yeah. That's exactly.
Nobody.
Exactly.
Nobody at all.
I was like,
man.
He's going to hate this question. Yeah.
Oh, to sing for Bad Religion, man.
Who could even do that? I don't know.
Nobody. I don't know if I could believe anybody.
Greg's the only one. Yeah, they're one of those few bands where like you can't. If anything is like 5 degrees off anywhere in that entire system, it doesn't feel right to me. You know, it wouldn't feel right to me. Like they're like. There's a few bands like Rush and The Police and Bad Religion where like every single piece is so completely part of the whole. They're
the perfect political punk rock band.
Greg has such his voice is so unique. Whether or not you think it's good is its own thing, but it is so unique and it fits so perfectly with the music. I don't know. I'm interested. Do you think anyone else even could sing for that band?
Yes, because of the style, but the only one that I could see, and like I don't even know if he's the right guy for the job, because as much as I like him, I also have, tons of weird quirks about what I like when it comes to punk rock. But I'd like to see Keith Morris. Keith Morris from the Circle Jerks and the original Black Flag lineup. Because I can't really think of anyone else who could fit the bill, but Keith Morris is so much more abrasive, where Greg is just cool, calm, collected, thorough.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Thorough. Thorough is the right way to put it.
It's a very different... Like, I want to listen to what Greg says. I want to throw down to what Keith says. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a good one. It's a good choice.
But, yeah, man, realistically, I don't know. I want to hear Bob Dylan sing for Bad Religion.
There you go. Now you're thinking with Portals.
Yeah, there we go.
That's a good one. But that's where it would have to go, I think. I don't know if you listen to the RX Bandits. They're one of my favorite bands, but they never got big. But I think Matt Embry from that band is the only person that I could think of. And I think it would kind of have to be someone like that who was like not part of the popular zeitgeist, unless it was someone as off the wall as Bob Dylan. That would be incredible.
Right.
Or it might be no. I was about to say it might end up like Metallica's Lulu or something like that. Hopefully not. What you got for me?
So I got kind of an interesting one that I was thinking about. Because you don't necessarily always think of it in a band format, but I'm looking at more songs. Who would you like to hear sing Neil Young? Same
songs?
Same song, same arrangement, same band. But, it was always, I always hear a lot of people have problems. And like, I too have had some issues with his singing, overtaking the message he's getting across. I got nothing but love and respect for old Neil. But I want to know who do you think would help more people engage into those songs with the way they sing it versus him being so... as Dimebag puts it, singing from the heart, which not necessarily isn't singing pretty,
And I guess from any time, or like someone who's currently around, or does it matter?
Anytime. History. Wait, you think there's rules here?
Dude, I mean, literally the first person that came to mind when I was thinking about it was Tina Turner.
Oh man, that's
can you imagine
awesome.
her? I imagine her belting out those melodies and that message. But I think, and then you said to get the most people engaged with it, and my brain actually went to Axl Rose.
Oh,
You
see,
know?
that's interesting because Axel does have the same kind of nasally qualities
Yeah.
that he could sing those songs,
Right.
but he's got better. Well, had
Like
better,
he's got better. Like when Axl was at his peak, man, he had like control and power and presence in a way that like it almost sounded like a guitar cranked up in a Marshall amp.
Yeah.
You know, and I could see him like hitting all those notes, making all those melodies, just like jump out of the speaker and grab you in the way that they do. He also has just such a nasty attitude that like you can't, or did I should say, that came across in his music that would like, I think that would really translate on top of the type of production and the type of songwriting that.
Yeah, that is super interesting.
But I would rather hear Tina Turner sing them.
Yeah.
It's probably the right way.
Can you just hear being like, "Oh man, take a look at my life."
Yeah, imagine that.
Yeah. But I can't I can't imagine her singing it smooth. Like I can imagine her band doing it her way.
Oh, I can hear it with those guitars and like Tina's voice on. Oh, that sounds
yeah.
amazing.
It's
Someone's
almost
gonna
like
put that into AI and make us listen to it. I guarantee it.
Well, it's almost like, have you ever seen the footage? It looks like she's backstage or whatever. My roommate Shaggy, when I lived in Austin, Texas, showed me this video of Macy Gray singing "Creep" backstage with nothing but her guitar player
just singing
sitting
it,
on
yeah.
a couch with the guitar, and she's hunched over on a couch, just being like, "So getting special," like Macy Gray, dude. And it was like, whoa, you know what I mean?
No, I never heard that. I actually kind of forgot about Macy Gray. I wasn't really on the, like, she never really grabbed me at that period of artists. There was a lot of really good artists at that point in time that were breaking through.
Maybe we can find a link to that.
Yeah. If we can, we'll put it in the show notes in the description, or in the link below if we found it, and if it's online on like streaming, then it'll be in the playlist, the official playlist for the episode as well.
I know it's on YouTube, so
right.
I'll send you a link after the video.
Perfect. We'll put that in the description below. Well, and with that, let's move on to the big idea. The big idea for this week is shows from the road. Shows from the road? No.
Stories.
Stories from the road.
Mine are going to be more like horror stories from the road. Nobody wants to hear about the fun stuff. Everyone knows the fun stuff.
Yeah, that's true. And the fun stuff that people want to know about are the things that we can't talk about.
Yeah, that's true.
But
it's sold to secrecy over here.
Do you want to kick us off with one of your horror stories?
Oh man. Sorry, I have a whole list over here. If you see me looking over here, and they're like 3 words long, just to like give me some kind of
just a prompt.
Well, let's keep it. Okay, so we're in Vermont, in Burlington, actually.
And I used to live there. One
Yep.
of my favorite cities in the whole planet.
That's kind of why I figured I would start with this, because you might be able to chime in. Some of these stories are going to be from one particular tour I did because it was absolutely insane. It was with my band Pothole at the time, and it was the Coney Island Rock and Roll Road Show. And what that is they used to have the Coney Island Rockabilly Fest, which took place like at Cha-Cha's in Coney Island. I was super fortunate enough to be able to play it a few times before they redid the whole boardwalk in Coney Island, and Cha-Cha's is no more. And but they had burlesque shows and freak shows, and it was really heavy into like Americana and rockabilly and punk. You know, it was a super cool scene. But once all that ended, they turned it into the Coney Island Rock and Roll Road Show, where they got burlesque dancers, freak shows, and bands to tour together. And we were on tour with Jesse Ray Carter, us, Deadly Lo-Fi, Johnny Food Stamp, Scarlet Storm and Cutthroat Freak Show, who you may have seen on America's Got Talent. He hangs the purses from his eyeballs. I was on tour with him for a month, and it was, needless to say, a wild tour. I think there was like 13 to 15 of us all caravanning across. We went from Vermont to Florida. So there's the precursor to this. So a couple of these stories are going to be from that exact tour. But which one was I going to say? Oh, right, Burlington, Vermont. We played a show at an art gallery. Awesome night, really fun. Everyone performed well. It was one of the first shows on the tour. And keep in mind, we went from mid-February to mid-March, from Vermont down to Florida. So we're in Vermont, peak winter, freezing, you know? And we played this show, and this guy comes up to, or these two guys come up to us after the show and say, hey, where are you guys all staying tonight, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, oh, we don't know yet. That was pretty much the premise of the whole tour. So they're like, well, we own a place called the Psychedelicatessen. And what it was this cool little corner delicatessen where they had two menus, and both menu had the same thing on them: sandwiches, drinks, chai tea lattes. You know, it was like a little tiny bistro with all local art, and it was just the coolest little place you could imagine. And called the Psychedelicatessen. And one menu was all the stuff regular. The other menu was all the stuff THC infused. It was all the same stuff on both menu. And I thought the coolest part of it was they had this giant witch's cauldron in the middle of the bar. And it was pay what you can. No menu prices whatsoever. Just this giant cauldron. It was the coolest thing. I believe the guy's name was Finn, who owned it, but it was awesome. He opened a place to it. We slept all over it. One person slept on the bar. There were sleeping bags everywhere. He handed us the keys and went, okay, guys, I'll be back.
Have fun.
I'll be back at like 10 a.m. And he made us some food and got us some drinks. And it was just one of those, like, blew my mind. You know, it was awesome. It was just
to hold on to.
And it was one of the first nights on tour, so it was such a cool way to just meet everybody and hang out. And
you weren't sick of smelling each other's farts.
And Eric Bruce, who owns Weirdo Wonderland, I believe it's called, he's the one who put the whole tour together. And I remember me and him playing chess. Everyone's drinking, and it was just a really cool night. And we ended up there for 2 nights, I believe. And the second night we were there, maybe we were just outside of Burlington, but we were still somewhere in Vermont, and it was so cold. And we ended up having to sleep in the van that night. Now, my band, there was 4 of us, and I had an extended van, so I had it where everyone had their own row. You know, they were like bus seats. So everyone had their own little section, and I didn't have a passenger seat, so I had the whole cab. And I would sleep in my sleeping bag in the driver's seat, and then everybody else could sleep. We kept the heat on as long as possible, parked. And to this day, I've never been so cold in my life. I wake up at probably 4:30 a.m. and I couldn't see anything. And I was freaked out that I couldn't see anything. And then I noticed my eyes were frozen. I had to physically go like this and heard my eyes open. And just immediately went into full-blown panic mode. Like, guys, wake up, we're going to die. Started the car. Yeah, nobody was still awake. We were all
who's
sleeping.
Still alive. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was so scary because you could tell. You're like, oh, this is the cold people die in.
Yes.
And we weren't used to it. We were like, we're from Erie. We're used to cold, but not sleeping
Not
in our
frigid
van
cold.
and
Yeah.
not that kind of cold. And it was just like,
I think we've talked about this. I'm from Erie too, and when I moved to Minnesota, I was like, I know what winters are like, and then I was like, I don't know, I didn't know what Minnesota winters were like. I remember
Right.
telling my dad, I was like, no, you don't understand, Dad, because he's Indian. He went from India to Erie, so that's all right. Like my genes want the warmth, right?
Right.
And I was like, no, you don't understand. The marrow in my bones is cold. Is how I described it. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it
gets
was.
dangerous.
Like to the
Yeah.
point where I had to wake everybody up at 4:30 and be
Right.
like, guys, move around, talk. Like
Yeah.
we're
brains
in
going.
danger territory. Like
Especially in Vermont, and I love Vermont, but like it's remote too. So like wherever you weren't close to other people or getting help or anything. Like that's.
well, we
that's
got
usually
lucky.
very
It was outside of a gas station.
Okay.
That was 24
All right.
hours specifically, and I went in and explained to him, and I'm like, hey, look, we're not going to cause any problems, but can we park back here and just
Yeah.
crash out? And they were cool.
They were cool. Awesome. That sounds like Vermonters, man.
Oh, it was
Good,
great.
Good fucking people up there. I'm gonna keep going with Vermont. But since you invoked Vermont, when I lived up there, I was I played in a bunch of bands, but in specific, I was the drummer for Phil Yates and the Affiliates. Phil is now in Chicago. They're releasing a new album soon, or they're recording new stuff now. It was kind of cool. I'm going to tell a quick story about the name of that band. We didn't know what the name was going to be, but we decided that it was going to be Phil Yates and like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, right? And so we had like a text thread of what the band's going to be called, and I wanted us to be called Phil Yates and the Blank Slates. I really like that one.
That's cool.
Or Phil Yates is lifting weights. I really, really wanted him to do that. He's a statistics professor, so he's not like a weightlifter, but I thought that would be a great name for it. he was not having it, and they ended up on the guitarist at the time, Phil Yates and the Affiliates, which I think is a really great name. It was like, yeah, I'm one of the Affiliates. It's not quite as cool as be like, yeah, I'm a heartbreaker. But yeah, so we did a couple good tours. I'm trying to think of a good one to tell. Well, okay, this is a great one. We're passing through Philly, and actually stopped in Erie the day before to see my parents because we were coming through Pennsylvania, and we were playing with, and I wrote his name down so I wouldn't forget it because I knew I would. Rodney Anonymous, who was the singer of the Dead Milkmen, he's from the Philly area.
Oh, yeah.
We were playing a show with him, so it was one of the ones that was like circled, and before, and I'm vegetarian. At this point, I'd been vegetarian for about 7 years. Now it's like 20 years later. And we went to this Mexican place first. This is maybe like walking distance from where we were playing. And we walked down there, and I ordered some poblano pepper thing or something like that. And I wasn't really paying attention. I just started eating it, and they gave me a meat a meat dish. Like instead, they gave me the wrong dish. And I was like, wow, we were like in conversation. And I was like, yeah, this is great. I was like, oh, this is really good. What did they do to these? I was like, oh, no, I'm eating flesh. And 2.5 hours later, I'm on the throne like as tight as can be so that I'm not having active diarrhea while I'm like playing the drums and singing.
Oh, man.
And then I had to like run off the stage. And Rodney was super cool. He was super nice and he was super cool and he was really complimentary. But I had to be like, I'll be right back, and like had to do my little like penguin waddle to go to the bathroom. It was one of the more brutal, actual moments playing live. But I wanted to call out, there was this guy Pelican Johnny who did a similar kind of. He wears the same hat, short sleeves, acoustic guitar, kick drum, tambourine thing in Philly, and I've seen.
I know a guy like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And he's still doing it. And this was close to 20 years ago. No, this was about 15 years ago. But he's still out there and he's still doing it. I saw him post something the other day. I haven't watched it. That's not true. I was in Philly 2 years ago, but I didn't see him play. But that was one of the more harrowing experiences from being on the road. I guess while I'm talking about that band, I'll toss another one out there, which is on that tour. We played at a little place in the Lower East Side, Manhattan, and they were like, "Oh, we have a full back line. So you don't need to bring your amps or anything." But we had them, but it's hard to park there, so we're like, yeah, we'll just come whatever. Just cymbals and guitars. We walk in the door, and they're like, all right, let's get the stuff out of the back. And I swear, for the guitar amp that they had was a single 6-inch speaker. It was like this. We were like, there's no way
That sounds right.
Isn't
That sounds right for
exactly.
Manhattan.
I was like, there's no way that's going to actually work. And Kevin, the guitarist in the band, sounded incredible that night. And what I realized was like a small speaker turned up loud sounds better than a big speaker turned down low. And you've seen my rigs. I play through
Absolutely.
two 8-inch speakers. Now that's my stack is two 8-inch speakers, and it sounds so much bigger because you actually get to push the amp a little bit. I learned that from that show.
So is that? I was gonna say, is that where you picked that up?
Yeah. Until then, I still was playing, or I would think of like a 112 as a small amp, and now it's like no, I want like 6 8-inch speakers. Because I'm not playing Madison Square. And honestly, if I was playing Madison Square Garden, I would go direct in anyway. I wouldn't, the speaker itself still wouldn't mean that much.
Yeah.
The whole concept of which Matt has recorded me at Aerotone Productions in his studio multiple times. I'm like, my speaker is this big, and I want it mic'd, not close mic'd. You can close mic it, but I
And
really
it sounds
want a
awesome
distance
every
mic.
time.
It sounds huge, and it's the tiniest little thing.
Yeah.
And with my old back, it's really nice to be able to like have that be what I'm carrying into the bar. But yeah, I learned that on that tour.
My old bag. I'm 40 now. I might as well quit, right? Is that how it works? I'm over the hill.
I mean, I also when I was in Vermont, when I was in my 30s, I had that thought. I was like, I'm too old to do this, and I did a whole like goodbye song, and that like literally 3 months later, I was in 3 bands. I was playing drums in that band. I was playing guitar in a band that I was leading. I was playing bass in another band. Like I was like, nah, I'm never gonna. What was I thinking?
That's right.
And I always think of like the people I know who are much older than us and that I have known who seemed unhappy, and they all had, no matter what they had accumulated, they all had some kind of story of I used to do this and then I quit. And I realized this is the thing I'm never going to quit, and I don't think you will either.
We are the ancestors, as my girlfriend puts it, which is funny because like
it's true.
I'm 40, dude.
Right.
I'm not 90. Well, since we're talking about Manhattan, I got plenty of New York stories, but one that always comes to mind is I was maybe 23, 24, somewhere around there, and we had gotten a show at Arlene's Grocery. Really excited about that one, well-known venue. And we had a manager at the time who was awesome. Her name was Jenny, and she was like out of her mind in every awesome way you could imagine. Just super fun, loved talking to people, loved hyping things, just cool chick. And so she lived in New York, got us this show. We did a whole string. And we went to pick her up from this local bar in Long Island City, Queens. And when we went to pick her up, all of a sudden, half the bar's piling into my little van. I'm like, wait, what's going on? She's like, oh, I talked to all these people at the bar. They're going to come to the show. And I'm like, okay, so I'm way overloaded. Like my whole van, there's drunk people yelling and stuff. This one dude keeps yelling, I'm going to pee out the window. I got to pee so bad. And I'm like, don't piss out my window. Like I'm yelling, like I'm not catching that ticket,
Yeah, you're the bus driver.
Exactly. And we get to his stop sign or a stoplight. I hear my door open. He runs out, pisses in a phone booth, which... Kids, they used to have these things called phone booths where before everyone had cell phones. And I'm just like, have my hand on my head like, God, come on, dude. Please don't run back in. Please light turn green before he gets back,
right.
And he gets in and stuff. And then I'm trying to think of what part of town Arlene's is in right now. Kind of a little mixed up on that. But anyway. Busy part of Manhattan, which is a funny thing to say because everywhere is busy in Manhattan. But we have to kick our 4-ways on and get everything in there. We're on in like 20 minutes, right? And so we get right outside the venue, hit the 4-ways. Everybody piles out. And there was probably 10 people in my 6 people, maybe 8-person van. Everybody piles out. Everyone closes the door. Van's running. Guess what happened? Doors
Keys in?
All doors locked. Keys
Yep.
in. Van's running.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no. How are we going to do this? Everybody locked the doors. So I'm freaking out. We're trying to figure out what to do. We're blocking the hell out of traffic because it's super narrow road. And, I'm panicking. I'm like, oh my God, we're on. This is a big opportunity. We have this van full of people that I don't know. 4 ways are on. People are honking. Wouldn't you know it? Some dude rolls up, goes, key stuck? I was like, yeah. He's like, all right, I'll be right back. Comes back 30 seconds later with what do they call him? Slim Jim. Comes back with a Slim Jim that he just happened to have on him. Not gonna question why he has that.
Exactly. It's the tool of a hero in this situation.
2 seconds. Boom.
Yep.
Pops it, and I'm just like, oh, thank you so much, man. He's like, yeah, what you got? I was like, damn it. So I had like a 20 in my pocket. He's like, that's it. And I'm like, that's all I got, man. I'm a musician. And my manager runs up and throws him a 50 or something. And he's like, cool. Just in the distance walks away.
Right. Yeah. Fades back into the shadows.
I'm very thankful for that guy, but I also don't want to know his backstory. So that was one of my most panicked moments because, one, it was an awesome opportunity for us to play there. And 2, I was already going stir crazy because my manager threw a bar into my van, and, like unexpectedly. We thought we were just picking her up. And next thing I know, I can't even hear, let alone try and navigate through Manhattan. And then the pee situation happened. And then that happens. And we get on stage and I'm just like, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Exactly.
It was.
How was the show?
It was great.
It was great.
We had fun.
Exactly.
There's videos. If you look up Maddie B,
release. Yeah.
If you look up Maddie B and the Dirty Pickles at Arlene's Grocery, the whole show's up there.
That's the one. Awesome.
So
cool. I've got one that's very different, kind of in the exact opposite direction. And I wrote this down as the notes because I was like, this was the chillest experience I ever had when I was on tour, and I think it like on the road in any way, shape, or form. And it's something that I just wanted to like get across because I knew this was going to be about most of the chaotic stuff. So we did, and we had actually talked about this before. This was the last time on the road when I was young, when I was in my 20s, where at the end of this tour, I think I told you, I was washing my face in the sink of a bar in Detroit, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, for the moment. That was at the end of this tour. And it was, I think, 2 days before this happened. So to put in perspective how quickly how strong that relief was from one moment to the next. We did, I think it was 2 nights in Bowling Green and then a night in Detroit, and then we went back and then back to Detroit. I don't remember what.
But Bowling Green, Kentucky?
Ohio.
Ohio, okay.
Yeah. And maybe it wasn't, it might have been like, anyway, whatever. There was like this Michigan, Ohio part that we were in, and we ended up doing 2 nights in a row in Bowling Green with our friends Sugar Buzz, who were an incredible funk band. If anybody knows how to get in touch with them, let me know. Those guys were amazing. T-Bone, the singer, and I in particular got along really well. But Sugar Buzz is a real hard retro band name to look up. You know what I mean? There was plenty of bands coming out of Detroit named Sugar Buzz in the last 25 years. But their manager had a home or like lived relatively close to Bowling Green, so like 40 minutes outside of town. So we stayed there in between the 2 nights. And we woke up, we partied pretty hard after day 1, and then we woke up in the van. And my drummer, his wife, and I woke up in the van. We couldn't find our bassist. We're like, where is he? And we like, the house is still locked. Everyone's still sleeping. And you can see in the house people are still sleeping in the, like in the living room. We're like, he's not in there. Like, what's? And then we hear his snoring. You know what it's like. You're living in a van with someone. You know how they snore.
You know exactly what they sound like.
Yeah, exactly.
Keeping you up.
We could hear him. We're like, wait a second. And He was about a block and a half down. Well, maybe not a block and a half. He
You
was about,
heard the storing from a block and a half?
Oh yeah, I'm telling you.
Jeez.
Well, the window was open because he broke into someone else's van, and was sleeping in their van, and we had to like wake him up and pull him out, and be like, dude, you're gonna get arrested because just move back to the van. Like this was like 7:30 in the morning or something like that. And that was probably why I knew to go look for him. I woke up and I was like, I don't hear his snoring. What's going on? And we went and found him there. But that day, that was how the day started. You know, at that point in time, I had gotten everybody up, so I was like, well, let's go get some breakfast. We got some breakfast. I needed to restring my guitar. I didn't need to, but I was like, here's an opportunity to restring my guitar. As you know, I love basketball, so we kept the basketball in the van. This is so long ago. These are the things that we kept in the van. We kept the basketball in the van. We had like an 11-inch CRT TV with a VHS, like a VHS machine, and we always had the two movies that we always had in there were Stomp. Remember Stomp? Like the people.
I remember Stomp. I saw it.
We would clap around on our seats with Stomp, and we had The Usual Suspects was the other movie that I always kept in there.
That's awesome.
And then a PlayStation 1. That's how long ago this was, right? A lot of FIFA 98 and FIFA 99 and stuff like that in there. But so we got breakfast, and then we just went to a park and like started playing basketball while I was restrung my guitar. And it was the first time I ever saw an albino squirrel. And so I chased it up into a tree. I was like trying to touch it, you know, when you got the full day off and stuff, which is hilarious because now I live in Minnesota where like every third squirrel is what you probably know. My band played our CD release last week. It was at a bar called the White Squirrel because they're just everywhere up here. You know, like we have two that live in our yard. But at the time, I was so excited, I'd like climbed a tree and chased this thing, and then we played basketball until the ball got stuck. Someone threw it up and it got stuck in, you know, like wedgied by the hoop. I threw my shoe up at it to hit it out. My shoe missed and got stuck up there, so I threw my other shoe up at it, and that also missed and got stuck up there. And we never got my shoes down, but we ended up throwing other shoes and getting the ball down, so I ended up playing the show that night. I was like barefoot for the rest of the night, played the show that night with a bad ground, so it would shock me when I hit my pedals, and it would shock me if I touched the mic.
Lucky to be alive.
Yeah, it was. We kept telling the sound guy about it. He was like, I don't know. I was like, okay, he doesn't know. Then I bought shoes the next day at Walmart on our way to the next one. But days like that are easy to like kind of pass over when you think about the chaos of when you're on the road and all that stuff. But when I look back at it, that's one of my favorite like memories of being in a band and of doing stuff, just like the real quiet, simple things. And like we were all like laughing so hard that we were crying at my shoes. Like, what are the chances you throw your shoes twice and they go exactly in the wrong spot? Like one was like wedged in between two things. And it was like, well, I guess I don't have any money until we get paid for the show tonight. We spent it on breakfast, so I guess I'm barefoot until we get paid.
True survival instincts at that point.
Yeah. Just chilling, you know, like it's hard to find time to do that as you age.
Yeah, well, so we had one of the first real tours we ever did. I was 22. I don't know how we pulled this off. We were supposed to have a tour all set up with our agent at the time, and they completely dropped the ball on us. But we had already taken the time off work and saved up some money to tour, right? And we were like, okay, we have 2 weeks and nothing booked. So, and there's a whole documentation of this tour on YouTube. If you look up Matty B and the Dirty Pickles meet and greet tour, where we literally all hopped into a van and said, where do we want to go? Huh. And we went from Erie, Pennsylvania to Florida. I think we had 2 shows booked. We had the first and last show booked. One was at a Harley Davidson location in Ohio, or no, right outside of Pittsburgh, I think. I don't remember. It's been a long time. But it was like a music festival thing. And then we had one show booked in Akron, like 2 weeks later. So we went, all right, let's figure out what we can do. So we were like, well, we've never been to Kentucky or Nashville or Memphis or anywhere really in Florida. So let's just go. And we ended up playing 13 shows out of the 14 days we were gone, just by literally knocking on doors and go, hey, we're a band and we're looking to play. Made money every night, not a lot, but we made money, made tips, got food. It was really special. You know, we went to Graceland, we went to Sun Records for the first time. We just, you know, it was crazy, especially because we were 22 and I was the oldest. You know, I'm like, I was kind of like leading, like, okay, guys, here's what we're gonna do, you know. And one of the coolest things that happened was Nashville. We went to Nashville, and we didn't know anything about Nashville, didn't know anything about Broadway. We found Broadway, and we're just like, oh, this looks cool. Like, this seems like where a bunch of stuff happens. Hanging out on Broadway, and just off of Broadway, there's Printer's Alley. And in Printer's Alley, there was this place called Bourbon Street Blues Bar. There was an open mic happening, Blues Jam. And it was too late for us to like sign up or get in, but the guy running it seemed really cool. And we hung out for like an hour, had a drink or two, and then I saw the guy outside and I just tapped him and I was like, hey man, here's the deal. Like, we're a band from Northwest Pennsylvania. We have no gigs and we're on tour and we're just wondering if we could hop up and play a couple. And he's like, what? I can't do that tonight. But he goes to walk back in the door. This is right outside. He goes to walk back in and he turns around. And he's like, I'll tell you what. Hang out for a little bit. Let me finish up here and then we'll talk. So we do. And he comes back out and has a drink or two with us, and we start talking, and he's like, well, they call me the brother man. I'm like, okay, you know, older cat and a bass player, great bass player. And we're just sitting there BSing and going back and forth and laughing. And for like an hour, we're in my van actually partying. Like, just, we went in my van because at the time I had the captain's chairs, so it turned into like a little living room. Mm-hmm. So we just went in there and like hung out, and he came in and hung out with us and was telling stories, and he was just like, all right, you guys are really cool. I'm going to set you up with something. I don't know if it's going to pay, or I don't know what it's going to be, but I will find something for you guys tomorrow night. And we're like, sweet. Well, it turns out it was Kenny Rogers' bass player. Who played like on The Gambler and everything, you know? And the next night, he, true to form, meets up with us at this pool hall, gets us, I think we got like a half-hour spot or something. You know, it was nothing. There was nobody there. But it was still like cool experience. Hangs out with us, plays pool with us all night. And Ben Jammin, my bass player, who's my brother from another mother, is a cigar connoisseur. So he came loaded to the gills with cigars. And Brother Man hadn't smoked cigars in years, but loved cigars. So we got him to smoke a cigar with us, and he just sat there for hours and told us all these cool stories from the road. And it's awesome because maybe that one we should share a link to. Because I have us in this pool hall and just letting Brother Man talk.
Yeah, we'll put the, rather than show don't tell. We'll put a link in the description so you can watch the whole thing.
Yeah. So anyway,
I love how
magic night.
His amazing stories from the road turned into one of your amazing stories.
And unfortunately, we lost him a couple of years ago, but we stayed in touch. He was really cool, and the people he introduced me to at that pool hall, who he got to come and see us and check us out and stuff, I'm still friends with to this day. I consider them family. I've stayed at their houses. It is what introduced me to Nashville. So it's amazing how just one tap on the shoulder and telling somebody your story can lead to lifetime friendships, more gigs. Anytime I go to Nashville, I got a place to stay, food to eat, and a place to play, just from tapping one guy on the shoulder when I was 22, you know?
Yeah. They say you never know unless you ask. And I know when we talk about, we do this podcast, we talk about music all the time, but like, it is really like music is there in service of the people. And those are the things that like really with which we are connected the most are each other, and music does that in ways that nothing else can. I guess I wasn't planning on telling this, but I will too. It's like there's a guy. Maybe I shouldn't name names, but there's a guy with whom I've been friends now for a quarter century. Just messaged him. You know, he messaged me 3 days ago. We met because his brother videotaped an OVM show in like '99, and then he found the VHS tape and looked us up online and was like, "Hey, I'm from Pittsburgh," and it was like, "Well, we're playing in Pittsburgh next week," and we met him, and we've been friends ever since. Like, you know, like it's just, you just never know. I certainly at the time didn't expect like, oh, we'll be a part of each other's lives for forever. You know, like I thought it was like, oh, just met someone, but you never know. Those kind of connections seem to happen through communal experiences over music than they do over anything else. Like maybe you're in a book club with people, but like you're probably already in that book club. You know, you probably already know some of those people. You go see a movie or something. You know, it's a different experience. There's something about the belief that people have in music that I think really kind of connects all of us. I did write a couple other ones down here that I think is worth noting, and I don't know if it's still like this, but you know, when I was young, which was a quarter century ago, like I was saying.
Yeah, you're still young.
You know, at heart, not physically. But the bars in Buffalo were open till 4. They'd have music till 4 in that part of New York. I don't know if it's still like that. So we would sometimes play these shows that were 10 to 4, which is just a brutal amount of music to play as a trio. But, you know, we were young and hungry. We would often do that, you know, like pack up, get breakfast on the way out of town, get back to Erie at like 6, take a shower and go to work. You know, like it was, if we did like a Tuesday night, you know, it was just kind of a normal thing.
That was the grind, man.
Yeah, that was the grind. And at the time there were so many more places to play, and that's how you connected with people, was by doing that all the time. And one night at Mr. Good Bar, which I hope is still open in Buffalo. I don't think that it is. I mean, I haven't hung out in Buffalo in ages. But one time at Mr. Good Bar, our bassist was just like, I'm not playing the last set. He just, you know, he just was like, no, I'm not doing it. I've had enough. And, you know, you can imagine the discussions that has with, that creates with the band later. But I was like, well, all right. I'm just going to, you know, it sounds weird to play. Like I don't want to have this argument right now, but we do need to finish the night or we're not going to like wrap up. So I ended up playing his bass. Like we played a whole set where it was just bass, vocals, and drums. It was like the worst possible. I was like, this is going to sound better than just guitar. I'm like, you know, like trying to double up on the stuff, and I did the best that I could. It was probably absolutely laughable.
That's where you need
bad
to
it was.
Throw a kick drum under your foot.
Well, my drummer was still playing. And so it was the drummer and me, and I was like, guitar and drums isn't going to work for a lot of this stuff.
Oh,
so
I see.
Yeah. So like, yeah, we did it as a duo. And while again, there was another band called Uncle Frank's Wallet that was playing across the street. They became really good friends of ours because they came to that show. So even though that was a terrible show, I also say that we got what I still think was probably rat sausage pizza on our way out of town that day, because we were just fighting about, like, I had to play the last set by myself, you know, like we're like arguing about that while eating, like, literally, like, this is like rat sausage pizza, like from Demolition Man or something. It was so bad. But yeah, that was
Mr. Good Bar is still open.
It is awesome. That's fantastic. I cannot remember the name of another place that we used to play there, but actually I'll save that.
Was it the Mohawk?
Oh yeah, the Mohawk Place. Yeah, I forgot about Mohawk Place. There's another place too that I can't remember the name of it, but I'll save that for my next one. I'm interested in hearing at least one more of what you got.
All right, yeah, let's do one more. Let me poke through here. Let me see. There's skydive. Let me. I'm just going to read you my Cliff Notes, and I might let you pick, but there is one that I have to tell. There's Roach Motel in Memphis, limping back from the south using cardboard to connect wires, eating a 2-pound burger before going on stage, the Alabama House, new starter in the Ohio campground, skydiving, Amish tire help, and Ice Cream Parlor. Those
Was
are
the
my clip
Alabama
notes.
house?
Yeah, I could tell that super quick.
Yeah.
It was just funny. There was this really cool couple. We played in Birmingham, Alabama, and there was this awesome comic book themed bar. And like all the tables had hodgepodge comic books on it. It was a super cool place. I can't think of the name of it right now. You could probably look it up, but it's in did I say Burlington, Alabama?
Birmingham, probably.
Birmingham, Alabama is what I meant. But anyway, yeah, it was this couple, and it was the Coney Island show where there was a whole crew
You've
of
told me
us.
about this before.
And they opened up their house to us after the show. And like they had two kids. One was like 13 and the other one was like 4. And we get to their house, and it's a good size house. I think he was a military vet, and just the coolest people. And they opened up their house and got us drinks and everything, and we're all hanging. And he's got this crazy sound system, to which he decided he should show us.
Yeah.
Turns it all the way up. She starts freaking out. Your kids are sleeping. He's like, we have a freak show and bands and burlesque dancers in the house right now. Like, you know, but then the 14 or 13-year-old, he comes down the stairs. And this kid must have had, there's no way he could have ever forgotten this night. Like, we just sat there and played guitar for him, and the freak show. He's like has speakers hanging off of his stuff. Yeah, and he's like we were so cool to this kid and just showed him all this stuff, and they got up and made us breakfast in the morning, and he's just sitting there, and he was all quiet. You could tell he was just like, "What is happening?" Like, you know what I mean? But anyway, that it was really cool because you know everybody who was on that tour were cool, you know, like nobody was out of control or anything like that. So, but I always just remembered that, and I'm like, I want to know what this kid, where he's at now, and what he thinks about that night, because there's no way he's ever gonna forget it. You know, the night the freak show came into his house. But yeah, that was the Alabama house. But the one that I have to tell, and I can't tell where this was or who I was with. There's a little bit of secrecy to this one, but I can tell you that there is an ice cream parlor that I went to, and I was told there was a surprise after we were done getting our ice cream. And we get our ice cream, and the owner goes, "Okay, guys, come check this out." And we walk around the back of the building to the back door, which is one of those old school basements like in The Wizard of Oz with the, you know, the slanted doors. And we go into this dark basement with no lights, old school wood, like ceilings, watch your head, cobwebs, straight horror movie. This dude has all this crazy taxidermied and jarred up stuff. 2-headed alligator, 2-headed snakes, conjoint twins in a jar, like the craziest of the crazy. I thought it was A, amazing that I was in this time and place, and B, couldn't have been more terrified and mortified in my life. I'm like, yeah, this is a crazy ice cream shop, you know? Yeah, that's about all I can say about it, but
yeah,
some stuff happens on the road, man, and not everything that meets the eye is what is in front of the eye. Is all I can say.
Nice. I'm gonna bring it back down to earth a little bit for
Thank you.
for another one. This was at a place that I don't know if it exists anymore either. It was called Annabelle's in Akron, Ohio, and
I played Annabelle's.
Okay, yeah, I figured. I think I hope it's still around, but this was St. Patrick's Day. I want to say 2000, might have been 2001, something like that. And I remember it specifically because the pictures keep popping up every now and then. And I had like green bell bottoms on and an orange Hawaiian shirt. I don't remember why, but the bell bottoms make sense for St. Patrick's Day. And it was a wholly unremarkable show, like the general show itself. But what I remember about it being hilarious was again, it's the little moments like kind of stick out to me more than the big ones. My bassist drank Jack and Coke all the time. And so he ordered a Jack and Coke, and he got a Yukon Jack and Coke.
Whoa!
Yeah, we were like,
that's like a
what?
snake bite.
Yeah. Which that was the drink of the band, was a snake bite. And so but we were like, what do you do? Do you order? Can I have a Jack Daniels and Coke? Like what bartender doesn't know what a Jack and Coke is? It was just so confusing that it actually like screwed up our minds. Like while there were times when we were playing, we walked over, and was like, Yukon Jack? Like while we were actually having conversations while we were playing, it just completely blew our minds. The other thing that I remember from that, and I wanted to bring this up because again, just the kind of the residue side effect of these things was. Dave Matthews Band had just put out Every Day, which was the first album where Dave was playing electric guitars. A lot of people don't really dig the direction that the band had gone after that. And there was Dave Matthews Band playing in between bands, but it wasn't that album, and it was stuff I hadn't heard. And I was like, what is this? And the sound guy had the Lillywhite sessions there. So for those, and a lot of people don't know this, after Under the Table and Dreaming and Before These Crowded Streets and Crash, Steve Lillywhite produced those 3 albums. He did a whole other album with the band called that just ended up being called the Lillywhite Sessions, that apparently was going around on like, it was probably LimeWire or maybe even Napster, because that's how long ago it was. And this sound guy had gotten all of them and put the album together and played it. So if you're more of a fan of the older stuff than the newer stuff, that's the album that they recorded, and they were like, we want to go in a new direction. They scrapped it. I'd never heard it before. And that was the first time that I heard Grace Is Gone, which is one of my favorite songs by them. And I know there's a lot of people that hate them, but if you're like me and you ever got to see them live back in the day, I will vouch that this is as good of a live show as you could have gone to. But also, it got me, like, one of my favorite conversations that I have with people is like, what are in your playlist right now? To what are you listening? You know, and that particular moment started my conversation that I always have that conversation with whoever is running sound. I always ask, like, if there's time, if they're not like running around crazy the whole time, and as soon as things kind of relax, I usually ask them about what they're playing or what they're listening to or what they test their systems with, and it has opened up some really, really great friendships, you know, like, but also it's just like, it's a great way to learn about new things or things that sound different sonically.
Yeah.
Do you want to do another short one?
Annabelle's is permanently closed, by the way.
Okay, that makes
Unfortunately.
sense. Yeah, this was a long time ago. But yeah, that was a great spot. Do you want to give us one more before we crack into your Day the Music Died music history, or do you want to jump straight into that?
No, I think I'll save some of these. We'll have another round of this. It sounds like we both have plenty more in the tank.
Yeah. Why don't you set up this clip for us?
All right. So before Dev and I started this podcast, we did a couple trial runs to see if we even liked each other enough to do it. I'm just kidding. But no, we did do a couple like warm-up runs, and it should be the 5th, I believe, today, or the 6th. I'm sorry. It should be February 6th today as of recording. And that means a week ago, or a few days ago, February 3rd, was the day the music died, which is the day that Buddy Holly, the Big Bopper, and Ritchie Valens went down in a plane crash. And when I first came up with the idea of doing, you know, Matt's music history, that had to be the first one that was on my radar, because that is a really important day to me, being a huge Buddy Holly fan, and studying and researching that was very impactful to my musical journey. So we have that clip. So instead of me just retelling it, just go to past Matt. February 2nd going into February 3rd, just a little after midnight, or 2 a.m. I think, in 1959. And the tour was Buddy Holly, the Big Bopper, who was known for "Hello, Baby," Ritchie Valens, who obviously did La Bamba, O'Donna, a whole bunch of other hits, and Dion and the Belmonts, who did Run Around Sue, The Wanderer. So these guys were all on tour together, and it was kind of a shoddily put together tour. It was called the Winter Dance Party Tour, and it was freezing. It was in the Midwest, all the way down through the whole Midwest, and they ended up having a whole bunch of bus problems. It was basically like a nightmare tour. So the bus had froze, or the heater on the bus had died multiple times throughout the trip. And crazy enough, Dion's drummer actually got frostbite on his foot because his feet were so cold. He got one wet sock, so he put a whole bunch of socks over it to warm it up, when in all actuality it kept the coldness in, and ended up getting frostbite on his foot. So that night they end up in Clear Lake, Iowa, at the Surf Ballroom, and Buddy Holly actually had to play drums that night for Dion and the Belmonts because
I did not know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, because the drummer's foot got frostbite. And in Buddy's band, Waylon Jennings was actually on bass. He was either 16 or 18 years old. Buddy Holly was 22. And Tommy Alsop was on guitar. So that was his backing band for that trip. It wasn't the Crickets. By that point, they had kind of parted ways. So you had the Big Bopper, Dion, Tommy Alsop, Waylon Jennings, young Waylon Jennings, Buddy Holly, Richie Valens. Cool, the show went great. But they were so tired, and it was a miserable night, that Buddy Holly actually chartered a plane, and he was going to take Waylon Jennings and Tommy Alsop, his band, basically, to the next gig after the show was over. Well, the Big Bopper had the flu. So they decided that, Big Bopper's sick. He don't need to be in that bus anymore. We'll take him. So he switched places with Waylon Jennings. And a really crazy side note to that is Waylon and Buddy were really close, and they were teasing each other. And Buddy Holly said, "Oh, I hope you freeze in that bus." And the last thing Waylon said to Buddy Holly was, "Well, I hope your plane crashes." It's a totally true story. Waylon Jennings went on record and said the story a ton of times. And there's thoughts that actually led to a lot of Waylon's problems as he got into his earlier 20s. Is that was such a traumatic experience, and he held that weight saying, "I hope your plane crashes." Which ultimately happened. So, Waylon Jennings gone on record saying, that was the start of my drinking. And maybe we don't all know, but Waylon had some struggles, to say the least. But and then there's the famous coin toss that happened with, which in the movie, it's between Tommy Alsop and Richie Valens, and Buddy Holly flips the coin, and we're talking about the movie La Bamba in this instinct. And, Richie wins. In the movie, Richie had the flu. In reality, the Big Bopper had the flu. But that is, Dion has gone on record saying the coin toss was with him because all the headliners were going on this plane. But Buddy Holly chartered it. It's known and documented that he chartered it for him and his bandmates because the Big Bopper was sick. Waylon stepped down and said, "I'll take the bus." And then the coin toss went for, I guess, Richie Valens stopped Tommy Alsop in the green room and said, "Hey, I've never flown before, I'm freezing." Richie Valens was 17, man.
Yeah,
17 years old. And Tommy said, "All right, So they flipped the coin, and Richie Valens ended up winning. And I guess Tommy also gave Buddy a bag of shirts and his wallet before they got in the plane. So because they were going to get to the next town sooner, he asked Buddy if he would throw his shirts and stuff in the wash. So they'd be all washed by the time he got to the next town. So he said, okay. They take off, and this young pilot who was overconfident. I think the pilot was only 20 or 21. It was a really small plane. Didn't know how to read the, I can't think of the name of the equipment, but basically the thing that tells you if you're going up or if you're going down. Yeah, they had just recently switched the way they went. So he thought he was going up, but it was a blizzard, wintry, cloudy night. Couldn't see anything. So he gets off the runway, starts going up, gets confused, and actually nosedives the plane just after liftoff. Nobody knew it until the next day, but that was it. That was Buddy Holly, Richie, the pilot, and the Big Bopper all died that day, and the guys didn't know about it. The rest of the tour didn't know about it until they got into the next town, started getting ready for the gig, and then the papers came out. So that's, I figured that was like the place to start it. It's something I researched pretty heavily when I was younger. I apologize if I may have made a couple mistakes here and there, but like that's the ultimate. From what I've learned, that's the most factual telling that I've come up with.
All right, well, that was Matt's Music History. Matt's Music History is brought to you by Aerotone Productions, a live sound and recording production company coming out of northwestern Pennsylvania, specializing in sound engineering, multimedia editing, archiving, and scoring. And that is something about which we've talked a bunch. I visited the crash site. I sent, I think I either posted or sent you a picture of it there. I was wearing my big black, rimmed glasses when I went, just kind of out of chance. I happened to be wearing them and I left them there, and other people had left their glasses there and stuff too. It was really odd. It's literally in the like you said, it's in the middle of nowhere. Like I had to park my van somewhere and I one-wheeled out there, and like there's a field where there's just a little thing that people had left.
Well, there's a giant pair. There's a giant pair of his glasses, right?
Yep. Yeah. I left mine hanging on the rim next to the other people's. It was kind of weird because then I drove home without my glasses, but it wasn't too far. Luckily that was just from Kansas City to here in Minneapolis where I was living at the time. So yeah, I think that's our show for today, unless you got anything else. What else is happening in your world right now, Matt?
Well, again, last week or a couple weeks ago, we released our single, Curse of the Gloom, which you can get on Spotify under Matt Broke Boland, iTunes, Apple Music, and YouTube. I just turned 40, so I had a cool birthday bash. Pretty excited this week, actually. We're going to be doing a Resist rally where we get to play a couple of politically driven songs that I had written. Honestly, I wrote most of them way too long ago for them to be relevant still, but so I'm really excited about that. It's at the 520 Collective in Erie, PA. And just trying to get through these hard times. We just did an amazing project with Steve Trahosky's Zebra Tree Project, where we turned St. Paul Cathedral here in Erie, PA which is an incredible church. It's beautiful. And we got to turn the church into a recording studio, and we partnered with Everything at Once Studios, who did all the video work, and we lit all kinds of candelabras and we had great musicians, cello, violin, piano, guitar, bass, trombone, and chimbasa, which never got to record that. It's basically a big trombone that's on a kickstand that is a cross between a trombone and a tuba. Never even seen it before. It was amazing. But lots of cool stuff happening at Aerotone. Lots of cool stuff happening with Broke Boland's string show. I'm really excited on the creative adventures happening right now. So yeah, that's what's happening. What's going on with you, man?
There's a new project I'm doing called Songtaneous, where I'm getting a bunch of musicians together who've never played together before. We have an hour to write a song, or the music for a song, that I'm going to work with the singer and give them an hour to do it. We finished the first session yesterday of music, and it went better than I could have imagined. And the next session is happening in just a couple days. So those videos are going to start coming out starting in late February of the full versions. And I think I talked about this before, but I did a video where I take the blueprints for Star Wars ships and I play them as scales on the fretboard of the guitar, which is completely ridiculous, but I tell the story of the Death Star trench run with the ships ascending and then finding the Death Star and then shooting it and then going away while the TIE fighters chase them. And it is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever... I don't know if it's good. I'm not sure if it's good or not. But I'm glad that someone actually did it. So that video will actually be going live the week after this one. So keep your eyes out.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, I think that's it for this week of Once Upon a Tune. Once Upon a Tune is a podcast about tunes where we celebrate music
and the characters who make it. Make sure to check out 6 Tuning Pegs, providing technology solutions for guitarists and the rest of the world. Find out more at 6tuningpegs.com. For the love of guitar, that's the number 6, tuningpegs.com. Got to give you a quick shout out there, brother.
I appreciate that. We do a new episode every Friday, so we will see you next week. Cheers.
Bye.